there's a whole range of complaints about COVID-19, particularly mis and disinformation about COVID-19. So there we're looking at things, there have been a number of key trends. So some of them are things like COVID-19 doesn't exist. That's been one of the popular pieces of misinformation. All quick errors for COVID-19, and they range from things like drinking hot water facing backwards to things like vitamins, certain vitamins, or high acid foods, or all sorts of really peculiar ideas. Some of the other kinds of things that we've seen are some of the classic conspiracy theories about COVID-19, that it's all invented by a Western evil force, and sometimes that might be an evil Chinese force, sometimes it might be evil Bill Gates. And then, there's the ideas that Bill Gates is actually using this time to infect us with some kind of nanotechnology that they can use to then control us. Quite why Bill Gates would want to control us all, I'm not sure, but, And then linked to that is, of course, some of the ideas about 5G being the real culprit and cause of COVID-19. I mean, that's what the World Health Organization said. They called it an infodemic. It's this idea that you can spread all these rumors which really hamper government and scientists and doctors' efforts to try and mitigate the crisis we're in.
I think because of social media, it's much more easy for rumors to disseminate, and whether it's causing harm to our efforts in terms of controlling the COVID-19 pandemic, the answer is it probably is, and it certainly is also causing issues in terms of vaccine hesitancy, which basically tells us that unless we get on top of this false narratives around what COVID vaccines are and are not, we're going to be in a very dangerous situation that people will remain unprotected if they fall for the fake news, that these vaccines are set out to harm people or to change the DNA of individuals, as an example, which is complete nonsense, because none of these vaccines have got ability to do that. So I think society needs to get a wake-up call. And if we continue disseminating this sort of rumors from unreliable sources, all that we do is we're fueling the problem, and we're just prolonging the amount of time that COVID-19 will continue causing tremendous harm in society.
So I think what's important to note is that it shows just how dangerous it is that in a time of pandemic, that one of the things that government said we will not tolerate is deliberate disinformation about COVID. There's a regulation that's there. It's the first time we've seen any kind of regulation on freedom of expression like this in the since we've become a democracy. So it's really significant, but it does highlight just how dangerous mis and disinformation is, that government said we need to make this an actual offence.
I really don't believe that they did. Sure, there were a couple of notable incidents right at the beginning of the hard lockdown. The lady who was on video licking the trolley and questioning the existence of corona, for example, that one comes to mind. Now, that being said, there were so many fake stories that were doing the rounds at the time. Now, it's easy enough to take a few prime examples, clamp down hard, and try and push them through to prosecution in order just to hammer home the reality and the point and the risk of fake news. But the reality is that SAPS don't have the capacity or the technology to really clamp down at this stage. SAPS is so overburdened already, and it's lagging behind in investigation of all forms of cybercrime. And fake news is just really one example of that.